Yeah, I guess the Back to the Future Part Two is my most favorite because it's fun to Back to the Future. Yeah, it's fun to look at Back to the Future Part Two, so we could all talk about what Back to the Future Two got right and or got wrong. And for you cynical jerks who keep telling us that people don't read newspapers anymore, the USA Today newspaper is still alive and well in 2015. It's in fact it's still around today in 2022. The USA Today newspaper has been around for 40 years, so of course it's still around in 2015. But yeah, Back to the Future 2 is also my most favorite film because it has the highest stakes, the scariest, the high stakes conflict of all three Back to the Future films when Marty McFly and Emmett Brown they need to save their present in 1985 by going back to 1955 to burn the sports almanac so Biff Tannen can't get rich and transform Hill Valley into Hell Valley. And when they're in 1955, Marty has to stop his earlier self from the first film, from the first time he traveled back in time to 1955. He has to stop him from being tackled by Biff Street Goons, 3D matching skinhead. Yeah, I mean, Back to the Future Part 2 already had to recast two people, Claudia Wells and Crispin Glover, so that's why I think we should all be super thankful and grateful that Billy Zane wasn't too famous for to reprise match in Back to the Future Part 2 after going overboard in Deep Calm. Now, Back to the Future Part 2 was a very tough act for Part 3 to follow, I'm sure, but however, what's really great about Back to the Future Part 3 and why it makes a very satisfying conclusion for the whole Back to the Future trilogy is, Back to the Future Part 2's plot with the Biff-rific timeline was darker and edgier than the first Back to the Future film, and now Back to the Future Part 3 has a lighter and softer storyline about Emmett Brown trying to find himself in the Old West. After Jennifer Parker saw herself in the future and fainted, and Marty McFly bought a sports almanac with records from 1950 to 2000 so he could get rich betting on the World Series. That's when Emmett Brown realized time travel was too dangerous because, while he wanted to see the advances of humanity beyond his years, he wasn't doing that for monetary gain. And, that's why he's a bit worried about, like Marty knows about his own future when he warns him about getting into that accident. And Marty asks him, what accident? Yeah, so Doc wanted to destroy the DeLorean time machine car. He was worried, he said he thought he would regret not seeing his favorite period in history, the Old West. But as luck would have it, he finally did get to go back to 1885 when his car dashboard was stuck on the destination time of January 1st, 1885, and his car got struck by lightning after Marty McFly burned the sports almanac. First, Brown thought he was happy in the Old West, seeing what was going on 100 years in the past, but then Marty McFly had to go back for him to 1885 because he needed to save Emmett Brown from being shot by Biff Tannen's great-grandfather, Buford Mad Dog Tannen. So it's still something scary for which to look out. And if Back to the Future Part 2 wasn't dark enough for you, I learned that the reason why Old Biff is in pain after he returns to 2015 is because, well, it's not just because he's old, 60 years after, 1955, but it's actually because, little did we know, it was because Old Biff was actually vanishing from existence because Lorraine had enough of him being an abusive husband and murdered him in 1996, 23 years after he married George McFly. Perfect 1985. While I found Back to the Future Part 3 considerably less exciting or memorable than the second Back to the Future, it was still a very important story to tell because I guess the first Back to the Future film was Lorraine, George, and Biff's character arc, and then of course the second Back to the Future film was about Biff Tannen after having failed to win over Lorraine in 1955, discovers Doc Brown's time travel machine and drives the DeLorean time machine car back to 1955 to give himself a sports almanac so he could finally become a monstrous success and take over Hill Valley and steal Lorraine and George McFly and stealing George's whole family from him. That was very sad. See, I told you Back to the Future Part 2 was grim. So, whereas the first film had Marty repair the relationship of his parents in the past, giving George McFly and Lorraine Baines a better relationship, and Back to the Future Part 2 had Jennifer Parker peek into her future with Marty McFly while Biff Tannen goes back in time to repair his own past, 2015 to 1955, and Marty McFly and Doc Brown need to make Biff Tannen feel again so that the rest of the McFly family can continue to be successful after when they had the end of the first movie. The third Back to the Future movie focuses on Emmett Brown and Marty McFly's character growth when they just have each other in the Old West because they're the only people they know from 1985 who have gone back to 1885. They both have their own journeys of self-discovery in Back to the Future Part 3. Emmett Brown thought that devoting his life to science meant he couldn't find love, but eventually he did. Much to his surprise, he became more than best friends with the lady he saved from falling and dying in the ravine. While Marty McFly, in pursuit of saving Emmett Brown's life from being taken by Mad Dog Tannen, learns to not be a slacker and have more direction in life, and think about his future, and to not lose his judgment and freak out every time somebody calls him a chicken. Marty McFly learns to not be a wimp anymore who gives in to what other people think of him and who dare him to do bad things with them. And that's how he saves himself from getting fired in the future, Back to the Future Part 2. When he fakes out Douglas J. Needles by driving his car in reverse.
Marty! You've got to come back with me!
Where?
Back to the future!
If Robert Zemeckis had intended for Back to the Future to be a whole trilogy, he wouldn't have thought of having Jennifer Parker go to 2015 with Marty McFly and Emmett Brown. But I think it all worked out for the better in the end because it's through Jennifer that we see what Marty McFly's family life in the future is like, and that's how Jennifer Parker and Emmett Brown both teach Marty McFly. That's how Jennifer Parker and Emmett Brown both indirectly teach Marty McFly to not give in to anyone who bullies him or calls him a chicken. Jennifer Parker falling asleep and then waking up in her future home actually became an important plot point that pays off in the last two scenes of Back to the Future Part 3. She takes one of those 3 copies of the "You're Fired" fax message, and she overhears Marty's parents from 2015 talking about the incident with him driving into a Rolls Royce, and Emmett Brown's warning to Marty McFly when they're in 1885 helps Marty to change his future and not do that when he's back in 1985 with Jennifer. And I'm very, very proud of Marty McFly and Emmett Brown for letting it grow as people. And they both started out the film trilogy Social Misfits, who in the third movie, with their contrasting ways, help each other to become better people who really learn how to be more socially adept with other people in general.